And my friend said, who's going to be in it? I was like, everyone.
Hey guys, it's Max and we are here at the press conference for the opening film at the London Film Festival 2021, The Harder They Fall. Guys, this is an incredible film. It is a new Western, I can say that. If you weren't a fan of Westerns as a kid, because I wasn't, I think this film is going to change your mind. It's been made by London-born director, producer, musician, Jeymes Samuel. He is about to join us. We're going to hear from him on the inspiration of this film and also working with a certain man called Sean Carter. Most of us know him as Jay-Z. Plus, the lineup is pretty spectacular. We are about to hear from the man himself, Idris Elba.
I had to do the eye squint. I just had to.
The Queen, Regina King.
Wow, this is a lot coming at you.
And God, I love him. I think he's so talented. And actually, a couple of years ago, I'm sure he was in a little independent film here at London Film Festival called The Last Man in San Francisco. He's also recently appeared in Low-Key. We love him, Jonathan Majors.
By the way, before the pandemic, Jeymes Samuel was already using FaceTime. So that was a new thing.
Yeah.
That was a new thing.
Yeah. I never used the regular. I never put the phone to my ear. And just for the record, we waited our whole lives to be able to look at people and talk to them. And as soon as it comes out, everyone's like, no, don't do that. Like, just call me. You better FaceTime me. I want to see them eyes.
Open it.
Please.
Just growing up, I was always watching westerns. I love cinema. I'm a cinephile, but the genre of the Old West was always just alluring to me. But I've always said the scope that they showed us those stories through were really narrow. They didn't really leave way either side for any other interpretation. Women of all colours were always subservient. If you were a person of colour, you would like less than kind of human. So although I love the genre so much, it just made me want to do more with it and broaden the scope. And I love Westerns so much, I just had to kind of come out first with Western. I was actually on Kilburn Lane, Mozart Estate, West London, when I first said to myself, I'm going to do a Western. And my friend said, who's going to be in it? I was like, everyone.
Proof is a book.
There was no yes or no, or maybe it was you're doing it. Okay. Jeymes and I have known each other for a long time, and yes, there's definitely a uniqueness to a man from London, from the Harrow Road. You know what I mean? We grew up together, doing stupid shit, and here we are making a Western. Definitely, I grew up watching Westerns, Bonanza, a lot of Bonanza. Yeah. My dad loved that. And to have this moment to sort of bring that, almost redefine the genre in this way is definitely special. So I was on board from the day one.
For me, I am not a fan of Westerns. And it was Jeymes. I met him over FaceTime, and when he just expressed his vision, he even picked up his guitar and started playing some of the music he had written already, and just the way he described the shots and how the music would play with the images. It's like Jeymes thinks in music, and so I was like, well, gosh, if Westerns were like this, maybe I would like Westerns. And I was gonna have the opportunity to work with Idris again, and it's been quite some time since we've got to dance together, so that's what sold me.
There's things chop and change, and COVID, and scripts change, the characters, but this version of this movie was this cast, and I wanted Jonathan. When Jonathan Majors was cast to play Nat Love, I hadn't seen anything that he was in. Nothing. I hadn't seen anything. I didn't ask him to read for the script. In fact, he was doing a interview. You were doing an interview for White Boy Rick, and he was talking about his process and how his process was helping another actor in the movie. And he broke it down, and I saved that interview, and I showed it to Jay, to Jay-Z, to JL. I was like, that's Nat Love. That inner mind work is the reason why Jim Beckwith follows Nat Love, Bill Pickford. I was like, it's him. It's him.
The Western was kind of something I did grow up with watching. You know, my grandfather used to watch it, my father, my parents. But I also kind of lived in a Western. You know, I grew up on a farm. I grew up also, you know, in the city, but I grew up around horses. I grew up around shotguns. I grew up around hot sun and all the elements. And I think when I first read the script, I thought, okay, well, I don't think we've seen this before, though I've lived it. You know, I guess I was 29 when I first read the script. I'm 32 now, so there's that. And I thought, okay, this is an opportunity. And then again, just like a little bit of Regina, a little bit of Driss, I knew Driss was attached to it, so I thought, okay, well, we got something going on here. And then I too spoke with Jeymes, and Jeymes does live and speak and articulate kind of life through a Western. You know, there's something about the danger of a Western. There's something about the feral grind of a nature of a Western. You know, you're in the nature. You're dealing with some real morality. You're dealing with some real fate. You're on the frontier and you're trying to figure it out. And I was excited to try to jump into that.
And when I'm married to an idea, it haunts me until I execute it. You know, me and Idris go back. I was saying like the blue can of Dax. Like we go back like Jacob's cream crackers and cheese. Me and Idris go back since Doc Cotton and Nick Cotton were straight running EastEnders. Matter of fact, when I look at Idris, if Idris tells me something I don't like, I don't want to react. I just hear ish, 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 ish. Dun, 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 dun. So as far as we go, like we were always talking about cooking, the harder they fall, and you know, the whole thing's poetry beyond words. When me and JL first connected for the harder they fall, we met actually in London in 2002. Wow. Right, like this whole, you know, just the whole thing is serendipitous. And when I was speaking to Regina, I was just like, you know, when you got called, because it took us so long to get Regina King on the phone. I don't know what she was doing.
Working.
But it's like, I was thinking to myself, it's only a FaceTime, but we had to wait like 2.5 weeks. I remember like the day before the 2.5 week, the day before I was like, oh, I can't wait till tomorrow. I can speak to Regina. And then, and the FaceTime happened. And just before I was like, okay, look, Jeymes, you got probably 30 seconds to make an impression. Because I believe you make an impression on someone the first minute you meet them, you've decided. I was like, you got like 30 seconds. What are you going to say? Like, she came on, well, hello. I was like, peace to the Black Queen, Regina King. What's cracking? Okay, so look, here's what I'm making. And then I picked up the guitar. It's like, her name was Regina. Right. I was like, when we put that, I was like, whew, if this don't work.
Wow, this is a lot coming at you, and we're actually on FaceTime. And it was very clear that he's a collaborator. I like to be a part of projects where it's collaboration. I'm not really interested in my, me type of thing, because it's impossible to tell a story without all of the storytellers, you know? And he definitely, while he was so clear and so confident, it wasn't conceit. And wanted to take that ride with him. You know, I was like, either we're gonna go hard and go to the sky's the limit, beyond the sky, or we're gonna crash and burn together. And we didn't do the latter.
You know what I mean? We didn't crash and burn.
Knowing that, you know, some of these characters are all, you know, real people, or were real people, you know. And Rufus Buck was this really, interestingly, he was very young at the height of his reign. He was probably about 20 or 19. He was a biracial man, black and Native American, and his gang, I mean, it looked like something out of Bugsy Malone. There's a little guy just like this, you know. And this is the Rufus Buck gang. And so I really, had that to look at and thought about James's reimagination of it. And it became super appealing because here I was allowed to sort of bring this character to life, you know, and place him into James's universe, right? So he's a ruthless guy, but he's also a guy that essentially is progressive in thought. You know, Rufus is about at a time where, you know, black people were being not only marginalized but moved from town to town and not allowed to stay in the major towns. This was a man that was trying to create a town and a safe space, albeit doing it ruthlessly. He had some substance to him in this film. So that was appealing, you know. Also, you know, having the opportunity to work with Regina again and Trudy is such a formidable character. And, you know, I remember one of the first conversations Regina and I had is that, you know, it's interesting that there isn't a romantic slant to this character or this relationship. We celebrated that as actors as we started to develop, because it just meant that we were, you know, head to head. Literally, there's a moment in the film where I put my head on her head, and that came from an improvisation, but it was also a sort of a nod to the equality of our characters and how they stand in this film, and that was really, I don't know, touching and moving and different, you know.
The thing that's so unique about this piece is that Cuffy, Stagecoach, and Trudy are so different, but they are not, you know, their existence is not based on any man, and or a child, or, you know, a parent, or some story that has to connect them to something else other than them being who they are, you know. And to have three women that are so different, but so sure, and still have those layers, not be one-dimensional, was exciting to see. And then for a man to have been the one to, you know, write it, makes it even more special.
The interesting part about Nat is when I read the script, we don't meet the man Nat Love until maybe 7 pages in. But for me, the most important part of Nat Love is what happens in those first 7 pages. Of course, it's our prelude to the film. And you see a young boy who's 10 years old who witnesses one of the most horrendous things any human being could experience, the violent death and murder of his mother and father. And so that let me know off top we've got a long way to go. Because somehow this man, I mean, I think we've all heard the phrase, you know, heal the boy, save the man. You know, heal the woman, heal the girl, save the woman. That was the mission. And then we were in the West. So the most interesting part about the process was what happened between 10 years old and 33. What happened to him? How did he become this man? Well, first off, he survived. And so how did he survive? So the trauma that he had to be healed, and he had to heal that by getting what he needed. He lost love. He lost protection, and something unfair happened to him. And so it's so interesting that you say equality, because that's kind of the driving force for Nat. I remember writing on my script, I just want to make it even. Right? This man does not rob from banks, but I will rob you if you rob from the bank. That's even. That's fair. I'm not gonna kill you, right? I'll kill you in the church, but I'll give you the money. I let the church keep the money. That's all good. You know what I mean? Which is why when we get to the end of our story, that inner conflict is so real and so raw, because what Rufus has done, by all accounts, is fair. And now there's a reckoning, an internal reckoning. And then there's the horse ride, and then there's the guns, and then there's all, you know, all those things. But all of that was fueled by that pain, that discomfort, you know, to make it even. You've put me all the way down the hill at such a young age, and I've got to get back up top, you know, to be whole. So that was the internal work and preparation for it.
Remember when that COVID album was first released in the stores, like everyone was buying this COVID album. There was this narrative that black people can't catch COVID, like for a split second. Then Idris the blackest of the blackest, came down with COVID. Idris was so black he didn't even catch COVID-19. He caught COVID-20, and the whole thing. I'm saying, like I always say, we always say racism would end if there was an alien attack, and COVID is an alien attack. It's a virus. It doesn't even want you to die. It's like War of the Worlds. It wants you to stay well so it can multiply. And this teaches them. We're living in a real life movie. If there was ever something to eradicate the human condition of differentiation and conflict because of skin color, it was this worldwide pandemic we were thrown into the midst of, and that was the biggest unifier I've ever seen. We're all actually here in masks. Like, that's the biggest everyone's trying to duck that Rona. Like, that's the biggest unifier I've ever seen.
James, we encouraged each other to get deeper under the skin with these characters, I would be bold as to say that I think that my performance would be different had we not gone through the pandemic. There's something I know that changed within us and matured within me as an artist that informed Rufus Buck, and especially in terms of the compassion and in terms of the ruthlessness and what that looks like on camera. On page, he's like scary, you know what I'm saying? But we wanted to dig deeper than that and figure out who's underneath that. And I really do think that, considering what happened to us in the pandemic, and yes, I am the reason that the film, well, I'm not the reason, but, I was the first to say, hey guys, I got COVID, and everyone was like, stay over there. In fact, don't come out of your house for 3 months. It gave us an opportunity to really think about what we're doing here, the harder they fall, we were told right there that this movie is gonna stop right here. We were thinking that the world was gonna die, this was a virus that, was gonna kill us all. But we stood back up. I was thankful, healthy and well, and it really gave me a life-changing perspective. So I think I ended up injecting some of that maturity, at least, into that character.
Faithful to the end. Bullets with your names drew. Cock back, aim, shoot. Bang.
Working with Jay is just like breathing. He's really, giving and generous, much like everyone here. He's really generous collaborator. But an interesting thing with Jay is he's super cine literate. So we were working a lot of times on like story and film and that kind of stuff, as much as or more than music at times. Like, he's super cine literate. I think people think the name Jay-Z and they automatically assume it was music, but it wasn't. I think all our relationships, your relationship with Jay spans over a decade, and he's a real film fan and is as knowledgeable about westerns as, say, someone else, and just film in general. I think if you look at his discography from the beginning, his first album, there was Al Pacino references. You think you big time? You gonna die big time. Here come the pain. He was always, that's Carlito's way. He was always, his music has always been like cinema. And then there's other times where you just marvel at the guy, because he doesn't use a pen. So even when we're writing we co-wrote the title track together, The Harder They Fall, and we was on the last verse. And when I'm writing, I use a pen, so I cannot remember the line I wrote literally 33 seconds ago. And he'd be looking like, and you can see his frustration building up. Like, what's wrong? I'm like, what's the line before he, like, it was like, the better we fall. And he'd be looking like, what the hell's the, man? Like, you're the one that don't use a pen. I use the pen all my life. He just stores all of this information in his head. And like, when he's writing a verse for one of the songs that you guys will be hearing soon, his eyes closed and he's just listening to the music. You're watching this in real time, his eyes closed, and you're like, okay, I got it. And he'll give you the illest verse, but peep this. Then 2 minutes later, he'll go, it wasn't right. I'm gonna erase it. Okay, I got it. You're like, wait, that's like Hendrix. That's like Jimi Hendrix going, I got the joint. Peep this. Hey Joe, where you going with that gun in your hand? Going out to shoot my old lady. You know, I caught her messing around with another man. Like, oh, hey Joe, who was Joe? Why? This is the best song I've ever heard. They go, wait, it's not right. Purple haze on in. What the hell?
I don't particularly enjoy violence. That being said, you are currently in company of extremely violent individuals.
Jump, mother.
I think for me and Idris and I, we tend to, mirror the same sentiment a lot of times, but I kind of think that as far as a character is concerned, if it's not rooted in heart, then I'm not interested as an audience member, and I'm reading something as an audience member first. Whether it's a comedy, a drama, whatever, if there's not heart to it, that's what keeps you there. And then as far as real people, we are all of us in this moment are the result of the circumstances that have happened in our lives. And because of that, we are all very complex. We're not black or white, we're a spectrum. And it's important to make sure that exists in the character that I'm playing, because they are real. That's really the point of storytelling, so that people can become a part of the story. Maybe they're leaving like, wow, I never saw something from that perspective. There's no way for Rufus and Trudy to just be, ruthless. There's no way for them to, for us to meet them when we do, if that's all their life was. So there's a love story there. There's the love story that Trudy shares with Stagecoach. All of it comes from the heart.
The best place. Regina King, Idris Elba, Jonathan Majors, the director and co-writer Jeymes Samuel. What a character! Also the producer James Lassiter, and of course Jay-Z has also produced it. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that and you're ready for the film The Harder They Fall. It's out on Netflix for everyone to enjoy November the 3rd. Subscribe, turn your notifications on, and don't miss a video. See you soon.